born in Compton, not much to do.
What up, everybody? How you doing out there? My name is Mad Dog. I'm from Nutty Block, Compton, Crip. Grew up in Compton, raised in Compton, all that good shit. Went to Caldwell Elementary, Walton, Compton High. Some know me, some don't. I disappeared at a young age. I started doing crime when I was young. I first went to juvenile hall when I was 8. Some little punk down the street said I stole 45 cents from him. They put me in jail for 45 days. That started my career going to prisons, juvenile halls, camps, and CYA and YTS, Nellis, Preston, all those good things. A lot of people know me, a lot of people don't, like I said. I know a lot of people and I don't know a lot of people. I'm not on here to discuss who I know and who I don't know. I would just like to make this video an introduction to tell you who I am and what led me to this. I started doing the crime at a young age, started gang banging young, hanging the streets, doing the things I had to do to survive. No matter what it meant, I had to do it. I ended up going to juvenile halls back and forth from LP Los Padrinos to Central and South Central Los Angeles. To me, they say East Lake, but you know how I go. Ain't number South Central's in there. I met a lot of homies from South Central. They know me, I know them. They know what I'm about and I know what they're about, just like the homies do. But like I said, that's another topic. By the time I got 12 years old, I was already in camp. 14, I was camp. From Camp Rocky, Scudder, Affleball, Page, I was in all those stupid camps. Didn't teach me nothing. The only thing it taught me to do is fight and keep fighting. That's all it taught me. So every time I got out, I ended right back up in jail. Back then, once the police put a target on you, you had a target on you. You wasn't going to get away. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like today when somebody pull a phone out and start camerizing you and all that old stuff. There wasn't no cameras back then. The closest thing we had to a camera, we used to tie cans on a string and go around the corner of the house and talk to each other on the can. That's how we did it. That was our cell phone. Or every now and then you'll see a kid on the street with a shoe holding up to his face because he's looking at Get Smart on TV. Other than that, we didn't have no phone. We had to yell and scream, ah! You know what I'm saying? That's what we had to do. That was our phone. So we didn't have proof of what the police did to us back then. So a lot of us got convicted and tried for something that we didn't do, but we couldn't talk. Look at the environment we in. How you gonna talk? That's not part of the game. By the time I was 17 years old, I got shot. That was like the 3rd time. I got shot in my leg. Went to the hospital for a few days. I checked myself out. So you never want to stay in the hospital when you know you're dirty. Get out of there. What you going to stay in there for? Because you know sooner or later they're going to entrap you, so get out. So what I did at that time, went to the crib. I was on crutches. I had staples from my knees all the way up to my, damn near my groins. You know what I'm saying? So that leg was basically immovable. So the homies came and got me. I walked outside. As soon as I walked outside, there was like, I didn't even get a block. Nigga, I was hopping. There wasn't no car, nothing. We just hopping. So as soon as I get outside, there's like 8, 9 polices right there. And they drew down. There was a helicopter in the air, everything. They drew down. You know, they didn't want nobody but me. Mad Dog, get on the ground, get on the ground. You know, I yelled back. How am I get on the ground? The fuck am I get on the ground? I got staples in my leg. I just got shot. Then I heard another cop say, yeah, he just got shot, so he can't get on the ground. So that told me right there that they was watching me and they knew my whole up to date and get up what I was doing. in order for another cop to know that I had already got shot, because I had checked myself out the hospital. So that told me right there was some rats on the street talking. That's the only thing that could have been. How you think they knew I was out the hospital? That's how they knew I was walking down their street. Somebody ratted them off. I didn't know who at the time. You understand where I'm coming from? So I went ahead and stood up. They walked over there to me, threw me on the ground very viciously, all of those stupid stuff, handcuffed me. You know, I can't bend my leg, but they trying to make me bend it. So I get in the back car, go ahead, but I bend my leg. As I bend my leg, I bust the staples out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sitting in the back seat of the car with the staples bust out of my leg, you know? So I'm like, what's going on? You know, they didn't get nobody but me. I'm walking with four fools. 4 fools. And they only get me. So I'm like, what's going on? Ain't nobody saying nothing. I get down to the police station. They take me in this little room. You know, now keep this in mind. I just turned 17. I just turned 17. Okay? They take me in this little room. Yeah, man, dog, we hear you committed the murder. Woo, woo, woo. What are you talking about? What? The fuck you talking about? Well, you, whoa. No, I don't know nothing. You know, they got me handcuffed to the table, right? First thing they say is, well, you know, we're going to catch the rest of the guys. And when we catch them and bring them in, we're going to give them the opportunity to talk. We're going to give you the opportunity to talk first. But see, that's where they messed up at. Even though I was the youngest, I ain't doing no talking fool. Who you think I am? Homie? So I sat there, listened to him, one hand handcuffed to the table, couldn't even move. I asked him, can I get a sandwich? Can I get something to drink? You know what I'm saying? This ain't my first rodeo. Like I said, I had started coming to jail at 8, so I was already schooled and well-groomed. By the time I was 17 years old, I was already a man in the streets. You know what I'm saying? And beyond that, I never had a chance to be a kid. I grew up as a man before I was a boy. I never had a chance to be no boy. My boyhood was spent in prisons. My boyhood was spent in juvenile halls and camps and YAs. So I never had a chance to go out there and go to a prom and all that old stupid stuff that people go to. I don't knock you for it, but I never had that chance. So to make us go back to what I was explaining to you, they ended up sending me to LA County Jail. I got to the LA County Jail. I think I stayed there for like 2 days. And then a judge said since I was 17, when I committed the murders, that I had to go back down to juvenile hall. What was juvenile hall? YA was one of them. I had to go back to, I think it was Nellis, no, it was Norwalk. It was in Norwalk. I had to do a 90-day observation in Norwalk. That's what I had to do, a 90-day observation. And then go back to court after 90 days. So during that 90 days, you know, I'm banging, I'm riding, I'm doing everything I got to do. I don't know the consequences of anything, you know what I'm saying? So by the time I get to the court, the judge turned around, he said, hey, you know what? You know, they look at the reports, everything, DA pushing everything. Next thing you look around, death penalty, special circumstance allegation, murders in the committing the robbery. So here I am, 17 years old, facing the California death penalty. Don't know nothing about living, don't know nothing about life. I'm not caring. So I go to LA County Jail. There was no Crip module, there was no Damu module, so let's keep it real. I'm one of the first ones to open up the Crip module. And that's the bottom line. Anybody that know me should know that I was there. When I first got there, I was in 1750 High Power, right across from the visiting room. And when I was down there, we had some big homies down there that was teaching me a lot of good things. And I learned a lot. I knew I was going to prison. Never been to prison in my life, so I wanted to get school. And it was a blessing, to be honest with you, to go down to 1750. Because you had death row individuals there, and you had individuals that come down from death row that was on appeals, that was teaching. And you also had older homies that had already been through the ropes that was building young soldiers to go through the system. And I was one of the young soldiers that got chose to be built to go through the system. And I'm grateful to my OG big homies that took the time to teach me. Some of them rest in peace, like Big Heron. Rest in peace, my big homie. Thank you very much from the heart, homie. I love you, homie. Thank you. I love you for everything, homie. And my homie Chico. Thank you, homie. I love you, homie. They died in prison. That's why I get sentimental. Because they was real homies to the heart. But either way, I was serving my time. That was 1983. If you want to look it up, you want to check my profile, go ahead. 1983. That's when John Holmes came down there. Couple of years, a year later, so the Menendez, Eric and Lyle Menendez came down there. And what most people don't understand and what they don't know is when Eric and Lyle Menendez came down to 1750 in LA County Jail, there was no TVs on those rows. All you did was look out a single man cell into a glass mirror walkway. When they came down there, the captain was Captain Black at the time. And Captain Black, they got at Captain Black and asked, can they get a TV? Because they was privileged, people. They wasn't used to sitting in the jail cell. They had everything they wanted. So Captain Black made a deal with them. Yeah, you can get a TV, but you got to put a TV on every row. So they put a TV on every row. Now, if you know Eric and Lyle Menendez, go ask them. And I'm pretty sure if they remember me, I don't know if they remember me, but we did time in Folsom. And when New Folsom opened up, I was one of the first ones. We walked us from Old Folsom, walked us over to New Folsom, and we opened that one up. And Eric and Lyle Menendez, I think they went to the Sea Yard because that was like protected custody. I don't think they were scared. I just think because of their celebrity status, you know what I'm saying? So they ended up putting them on the Sea Yard. I hollered at them one time on the Sea Yard like there, and that was it. And that's the last I heard of them. But they was good people. And I sat in the LA County Jail, 1983, sitting there. So when I got back to court, do you know the same dudes that supposedly did the crimes and murders or whatever supposed to did with me? That I'm sitting in court, and do you know you have at that time you had OSS, which is Operation Safe Streets, and they was escorting these clowns in there, and I'm sitting down. These are supposed to be older homies. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? But they walking through the aisle, but they got one in front, one in back, and the dudes is in the middle, right? One dude in the middle, so they'll bring them in one at a time like that. And they get them in there, right? So I'm sitting down. I'm thinking, okay, well, they're going to testify for me. About to get up out of here. Hell yeah. Man, they get on the stand. The first thing they start talking about, yeah, he did this. Yeah, he did that. What the hell, nigga? What? Excuse my language, but what the hell? What? I'm 17 years old. And you ratting on me. You supposed to be my big homie. You supposed to be protecting me. You supposed to show me the ropes. And you ratting on me. That was a wake-up call. Now, I will tell you what saved me from getting the death penalty. I fought it for damn near 2 years, okay? But I'm going to tell you what saved me from getting that death penalty. See, before I tell you what saved me, what ended up going against me was I gave a news interview to the LA Times at that time. Because at that time, they had just started this gang detail on the street. They used to have no gang details, all that stuff on the street. You know what I'm saying? But at that time, they started the gang detail on the street. So they wanted to know, they come to a gang member to ask gang members, what's going on, how you feel about the new gang program, gang interventions and all that. I talk bad about it. I talk real bad about it. You know what I'm saying? Because that was my feelings. I talked real bad. That was just the way I went. That's my feeling. I never hold back what I feel. That's just me. It's always getting me in trouble, but guess what? That's just me. I can't change who I am. And I advise anybody, whoever you are, just be who you are. Don't never change for nobody. Because when you change for somebody, you start living their life. And you don't want to live nobody's life. Live your own life. And that's the only way you can have peace in your heart and up here. I promise you that. Stop listening to people. Be your own man or be your own woman. And that's a fact. But either way, so I sat there and fought it. They testified against me. Like I said, OSS brought them in there. Excuse me. OSS got in there. I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you. I was lost. But I'll tell you, again, what saved me. There was one of the guys that testified. And I was in the LA County Jail. And, at 1750, you get a visit. you have to get single man, you know, escorted with the police. Sometime a sergeant, sometime two regular cops, you know, but you got to have two police wherever you go. And you wear a red wristband, okay? And then you go to, then they got another part of the LA County Jail, the junior high power at that time, and you wore blue wristbands, okay? So I never had a white wristband. I only had a blue and a red. Also, I forgot, they got yellow wristbands too, and that's for like medical, you know what I'm saying? You want to go to the medical facility and all that. You know, they got a new place. I never been there, you know what I'm saying? But either way, so I got escorted, you know, and I see the guy. And he trying to talk to me. I didn't say nothing, but when I got down to the visiting room, a couple homies are down there. They say, hey, man, talk to the dude, man. You know, don't ignore him. Woo, woo. Because I had told the homies who he was, whatever, you know what I'm saying? He's a rat, whatever. You know, a rat supposed to be dealt with. You know what I'm saying? Who you rat? No, homie, come on. You a rat. You know, come on, let's be real. That means you can't be trusted. So I sat there and I said, look, you know, I'm thinking what the homies say, right? So when I go back through to get back to my cell from the visitor, and just to let you know, my visitor was from John Holmes, the porno star. He had some people come up there, some porno girls, to pull us out. Now, anybody that was in 1750 and 1983 will tell you that's what used to happen. But it was only a select few in that crew that he did that for. Now, let's say, now when I come back, I'm walking back, right? They escorted me back, and he's yelling. He's like in a little whole thing, cell thing with some boards, right? He's yelling, man, dog, what's up, big huh? What's up? Now, he's older than me, right? So, I'm like, what's up, homie? Woo, 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 woo. Right? So, we talking. You know, I asked the police, you know, gang police, can I go talk to him for a minute? So, they didn't let us, you know, touch each other or nothing, you know what I'm saying? I probably would have ripped his head off, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't let us touch. Only thing they let me do is talk to him from the bars, you know what I'm saying? And gave us privacy where I couldn't touch him, he couldn't get at me, right? So, you know, I talked to him, you know, kind of explained things to him, and he said he's gonna change his mind. That's what he did. I can't give him a pat on the back for ratting. But I do give him a pat on the back for changing his mind, because he didn't have to change his mind, because by changing his mind and getting on the stand, it helped me out a lot. They had prostitutes, they had pimps, they had everybody out there. They was trying to actually execute me and put me down. Trust me, they was trying to put me down. They called in everybody. People I didn't even know. And you know, the sad part about it is, you know, the streets know the streets. So, when I was in there, I had homies coming up to me going, hey man, dog, you know, blah, 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 blah. They say the police told them what to say. They say the police gave them your paperwork. I never knew anything about it, never found out to this day if that was true or not. So I can't say if it's true, I can't say if it's not true. But it did sound logical, because they knew everything that I had did, everything I committed, the time of night, the time of day, what I was wearing. That's BS. If there's only 3 of us standing here right now, it's only 3 of us that know, and God above and the spirits that's below. So that's 5 people that should know. The 3 that's standing here, God above and the spirits below. That's it. So if somebody knew, that means they was rehearsed. But I'm broke. I'm a broke, poor, black kid out of Compton, California. I ain't got $1. My mama ain't got no money, and I was raised up without a daddy. So where am I going to get some money to go get me a high-priced lawyer from? You tell me, where am I going to go get some money to go get a high-priced lawyer from? That wasn't going to happen. And I wasn't smart enough and educated enough to go into a law library or study. I just did push up and drunk coffee and rolled up toilet papers, made bongs, and warmed my coffee up and started drinking coffee and everything like that. I didn't even think about it. I figure if you're going to give it to me, give it to me. Who cares? That's life. See, because when you young like that, you dumb and you don't care about living. Life don't mean nothing to you. You won't hesitate to take another life because you never knew what living life was, because you never had opportunity to live life. And that was me. I was young. Most people at 17 years old today got a home, big old car, pocket full of money. When I was 17 years old, I didn't have nothing. Not a damn thing. But these right here. And whatever I carried in my pocket to protect me. That was it. That's all I had. It was only because I was more dedicated to the streets as a gangster. I wasn't dedicated to go rob this and do that. I did those, yeah, don't get me wrong. But it was more of a gangster attitude with me. You get out of line, tap that ass up. That was more my attitude, you feel me? So when the smart guys was out there making them $1,000s or hundreds of thousands, whatever they was making, I was out there pistol whipping motherfuckers. Excuse me, pistol whipping fools. Not caring where it was going to lead me. Didn't even know where it was going to lead me. And where did it lead me? It led me to face a death penalty at 17. So when I ended up going to, I had he wasn't a prepaid, he was a state attorney. See, when you get a high power case, they don't give you a public defender. They give you a state appointed attorney. So I had a state appointed attorney. You know, they're a little bit better. And some of them really fight for you. This man I'm talking about, he fought for me. He fought like I paid him. And kept me up to date on everything. Now, you know, God was on my side. I was in a white man court. They had bounded me over to Torrance, California. They said I needed to change the venue from Compton, Long Beach. You know, I had to go to Torrance. Now, you tell me, here's a black man going to a 95 to 99% city all white. And I'm coming from a black hood. And at that time, I think Torrance had a 99.9% conviction rate. I went 12 in the box. I went 12 in the box. I'm a fighter. I'm not, well, first of all, they didn't even offer me a deal. They didn't come with life. They didn't come with 20 years. They didn't come with 100 years. They didn't come with 3 years. They didn't come with 6 years. They didn't come with 1 year. They didn't come with nothing but the death penalty. I was never offered any type of deal. I would have never took the deal, but I was never offered one anyway. That is why I tell you they wanted to execute me. They wanted to get rid of me. I was a nuisance to society, a nuisance to them. I know that. I'll make another video and let you know how I know that. When it came time, I'll give you a brief, when it came time for me to parole and get out the prison, I had to give them an address where I had to go. You know what I'm saying? That's the normal procedure. You know what they did? They took my files from California Department of Corrections and everything else and went out to that address and sat down and said, hey, look at his file. You sure you want him to parole here? You sure you want him to live with you? He's a danger. Don't let him do that. This is what they did. I didn't know that. When I got out, the person I came to, they told me. They tried to scare me. They didn't want you here. They didn't want you out. Once again, God was in my favor. But either way, like I was saying, in 1983, things was a whole different in the county jail when I got there. You could look out the window and yell at people on the street. Yeah, what up, what up? You know what I'm saying? People used to throw stuff, throw fishing lines, you know, make them out of t-shirts, whatever, throw them down there, pick stuff up and pull it back up to the window. But now they sealed all that. But either way, that 12 in the box, I got found not guilty. On the special circumstance allegations. I was lucky, very lucky. I was blessed. God gave me the right lawyer. That's what he did, though. He gave me the right lawyer. If I didn't have the right lawyer, I don't know where I'd be or who I'd be talking to. But I damn sure I wouldn't be talking to no audience or anybody that's listening to me. Because all my time been in a single man cell, 4 walls. I hardly ever had a cellie. I just don't get along with individuals that great. I don't. But when I got found not guilty, I still ended up going to prison. Like I said, I fought the case for about 2 years. January 1st, 1985, I entered prison. I got a C number. I don't have a D, I don't have an E, I don't have a B, I don't have an A. I got a C number. Not many guys my age, come up in my generation, has a C number. And that is because, like I said, I went to prison, got incarcerated as an adult, very, very young. So my number go way back to the first day of 1985. So I'm not new at this. When I first went into prison, you only had one spot to go to, and that was Chino. Whether you was a rider or not, you're going to end up in Chino. And you can break the doors back there to get out and whoop on people, whatever you had to do. So you had to handle your own. Went up to San Quentin. After I did my, you go to Chino, orientation, all that old gibberish, all that old type of stuff. Then you go to classification. They add up your points. That tells you your custody level. The higher your points is, the higher your custody. Low points, you might get into a dorm. You might get into a gym. Who knows? But when you got high points, or you got a high profile case, there's no way you're going to get that. And plus, a person like me, I wouldn't even know how to live like that, to be honest. I could have probably took a chance in the past, but I don't think I can live like that. Matter of fact, I know I can't live like that. Let's keep that real. And from Quentin, I went over to Old Folsom. I spent about 2 years in Old Folsom. Then they built New Folsom. And when New Folsom was built, I was in the SHU program 1 building. And they escorted us out the SHU and took us over to New Folsom. And from New Folsom, when I left there, I went up to Pelican Bay. I did a few years up there. When I first got there, I had to go to that 90-day orientation, C status, whatever the hell you call it. I never made it off the road. I got off the road one, they had their rides and rides. There's things happen, you know what I'm saying? But either way, I was there. And I paroled from there. About, 13, 14 days later, parole officer came out to the house. I wasn't staying there, don't get me wrong. I was living somewhere, but the parole officer came out to the house. I wasn't staying. So I was there when he came. Good thing I was there, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to be there when they show up. Because I was on high power parole. I don't know if anybody else been on high power parole, but I was on high power parole. High power parole, basically what it was explained to me is I can't wear any type of colors like red or blue since I was a Crip. And I can't wear no symbols on my hats. It just have to be plain hats. And I had to be in the house at 9 o'clock at night. they'll show up or they'll call, and if I wasn't there, then I was locked right back up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they had all kind of BS rules, you know? So it's like 13, 14 days later, they came out to the house. I was there, you know. Dude put his foot on the furniture. He was with some lady. And hey man, what's going on? Get your foot off the furniture. I don't, you know, they give me a favor to stay here. But he did that like, you know, like disrespect. What? So I went off on him. My family member telling me, don't, they're going to lock you back up. Whoa, whoa. I ain't care. You disrespected me. And you disrespected the people I'm staying with. So the next day, well, he left that day with her and told me to come down to the office tomorrow. Now, I should have known something was up. I got in the office. I'm chilling, talking. All of a sudden, I feel something behind me. I turn around. There's like an agent behind me. So I fire on him. Bam! I hit the fool, right? All of a sudden, they had a plan. The police was already there in the other room. They had everybody in the other room. I was over here like I'm talking right now. And they had another room. And they had all the police and POs over there here. So when I hit that fool, I'm thinking I'm about to get up out of there, right? I made it to the front. Once I made it to the front, it was like, at least, I ain't kidding you now, at least about 8, 9. I still was trying to fight. They whooped on me. And then when I get to the police station, you want to take pictures of your bruises and it? No. What do we want to take pictures for? It's part of combat. You win, you lose. That's part of combat. That's what life is about. No matter what you do in life, you're going to win, you're going to lose. I don't care who you are, what you do. You win, you lose. That's the bottom line. That's how life is based. We are winners or we losers. There's no in between.
Born in conflict.